have four other people in the group with us tonight. Dan Day, of course, Justin, who's been on several times now, Wade, and Paul from the West Coast. Gentlemen, how are we doing this evening? It's been a little bit since we've talked, and hobbies had all kinds of fun things happen. So how are things?
Good out here.
Doing well. Yeah.
Never
All
dull.
good.
We survived Black Friday. I know different teams had sales. The Blues did a 15% off sale on theirs. The Minnesota Wild, I saw that drop in the groups. I think it may have even been just before Black Friday that they are putting out a whole bunch more jerseys, and their plan is to really start rolling out seasons because they've hung on to them. This was as of Friday. Jeremy Rhodes had posted a Minnesota Wild group. They at that point put a round of 2021 set 3 home and away jerseys. Most jerseys were on sale. Talbot away was $400. Pricing sounds pretty decent, actually. Nothing too crazy, because I know they've been holding on to a lot. Have you guys talked to anybody that picked stuff up or went to the store?
No, I just seen the post. I just kind of paid attention to the post and scrolled past it.
I haven't seen it, but I will be down there in a few weeks. I think I'm going to try to get in for a couple of pickups.
Yeah, I saw everything online. I looked at some of the list. I mean, it was impressive what they had, and the prices really weren't. I mean, weren't bad at all. They were actually really good, I think, is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah, I actually did talk to them about it, and one jersey's already showed up here. For a friend in Germany, just sleeves are hammered. It's super nice shirt. And the pricing was great. So
I know Jeremy in one of his other posts too, when he picked some stuff up, said that the Wild are willing to put out as much product that will continue to sell. Good.
yeah.
If you're holding on to old stuff like that, especially of one guys that either people really want or that people don't even know. If you looked at that jersey, go, who the hell is that guy? Put it out there, because if your pricing's good, it will go. Some people want the name. Some people just want a gamer for the look. And the Wild jerseys are sharp, especially the patched ones that are there. So,
Yeah, they got a good logo.
I mean, good to see that they're doing that, and trying to see some of the other breakdown on pricing and didn't see it. Side note to them too is the Iowa Wild did a Star Wars jersey that was really cute called the Iowa Wookiees. If you've not seen that logo, go look it up. It even has the Star Wars writing underneath it. It's actually super cute. I don't know what they sold for, but I'm gonna guess they all auctioned for a lot. But so we saw that. We had the classic auctions closed up the other day, and saw some of the comments online talking about that. People said the high end stuff they expected to go high end, not out of the ordinary, but some of the lesser stuff that was trending up higher seems to be settling down. I don't know if any of you guys looked at the pricing on what closed, or if you guys bid on anything.
I watched. Obviously, I wasn't a player on it because it was pretty big dollar, but I did watch the Doug Gilmore Blues jersey, which closed at 15 and some change, which was kind of about what most of us anticipated. It's a big jersey. With the trending of pricing, I expected it to actually end up a little higher, but I mean, I think it was. I mean, that's what it's worth. I mean, it's the best way to put it. There was one other Blues jersey that went a double patch 75th, 25th patch, and I think it went for a little higher than I expected. It went for almost 1,000, which it was light use. Tough style though, so I that was kind of priced accordingly. I think if it was a little better player, that's a 1,000 and up jersey. So what I expected, everything else I saw, I agree with you. I think the high end stuff is still pushing high end pricing, and the other stuff has started to cool a little bit. The mid level stuff.
I just watch stuff. I just watch it for information. That's all.
I didn't bid, but there was a few things I kept a close eye on. I mean, the 99 2000 Fedorov. I had no idea what was gonna happen with that. It went for 10K before Hammer, so it's 12,000 for. I mean, it's a nice jersey. It's a playoff from 2000.
Mhm.
Holmstrom's 07-08 Stanley Cup Finals jersey went for 4,400 plus Hammer, which is kind of what I was expecting on that one. One thing which really surprised me, there was a Michigan helmet in there. 2016-17 Dexter Danks. Decent player. I don't think I mean, AHL I think was the highest level he made. Before Hammer, that went for 489.
Is it a rarity of those helmets, or what do you think pushed that pricing up?
That year, I have no idea. What used to happen with the helmets, they would be sold at the Michigan garage sale at the end of the season. And I think they were like $200 or something. I could be wrong on that, but they weren't all that expensive. And they sold quickly. The last couple of years, Michigan hasn't been releasing the jerseys we know. The helmets, some of them have been going to people who resell them. But I've not been seeing prices. This is what, $600 with Hammer.
Yeah.
Which shocking for. I mean, Monica and I were joking. Okay, it's like we're not planning on adding any more Michigan helmets now. That's going to be the buy-in price. So.
Yeah, that seems excessive, but maybe there's a story behind the bidding, and heck, it could have been family of the player. I mean, weird stuff like that you can't always see through the bids themselves.
That is a good point. There were 6 bids on it, and I don't know how to look at how they went in, but yes, I was just shocked, and it did have an autism. I believe this is the one with the autism sticker. Yeah, it had an autism sticker added to the back. Those were worn for one game and then removed. So I'm guessing, I mean, the sticker was added after the fact on this. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Some of the other high-end stuff that sold in 1910-11 hockey complete graded card set sold for $57,660. Somebody's Tampa Bay Lightning Stanley Cup ring from 1920 and 2021 sold for $37,668 each. And I mean, those are beautiful. What I couldn't figure, I'm assuming it's an office person, front office or somebody, because there's no, or they blanked it out in the picture. It's the only other thing I could figure, because there's no number, on the side to identify whose it is. I didn't know name or number. So the 2021 is cool because the ring folds open. And
Yeah,
so
those are neat.
Last day of school and cup parade repeat. I mean, they're gorgeous. I mean, even though I'm not a Tampa Bay fan, if I had the kind of money to spend, pick it up. Those are beautiful. I mean, just with the diamonds and stuff in them. Some other big thing, McDavid 21-22 captain's jersey sold for $34,621. I mean, not surprising. This came from my grade. Additionally, was worn 11 games.
Every time one of these this auction comes up and I don't see anything, I'm like, I just know, like, some of these shirts just, you get going and there's just no coming back. And the last thing I want to be doing is just getting into a classic bidding war, because I know I'm going to end up losing. I just know it.
A little more confidence. Come on.
It's much better now with the more reasonable closing procedures.
Yeah, I agree. I was actually talking to somebody about that today. I remember before, sometimes this thing could go late into the night.
Yeah, now it's just one jersey at a time. No one bids on it for half an hour. It's done. Makes a lot more sense than waiting till 6 a.m. to finally get the second bid on that jersey.
And it's just funny to look to see what sold higher than others. There's a 1933-34 Hamilton chewing gum and Canadian chewing gum. They're hockey wrappers. The two wrappers $16,204. The next thing lowest to that, Wade, was the Gilmore Blues jersey.
Yeah.
Bubblegum wrappers from the 30s sold more than jerseys worn by players. A Lindros in there, a Gainey Stanley Cup ring, all these different things, and it's crazy to see what sells where, and again, there has to be some story behind why the people bid on that and the value, and I wish we could find out some of those stories.
Yeah, for sure.
Some of the other auctions going on, Paul, if you want to talk about the Global Series stuff.
Yeah, those are up on NHL Auctions, our favorite company, Fanatics. Oops. Yeah, that's the last time I'll say their name tonight. Number of all four teams are up there. The red set from the Red Wings are up there. Those there's a lot of things which bug me about this company. The auction closes on December 5th, which is in 5 days. It opened on November 22nd. They still don't have photos of the jerseys. Everything's a placeholder. What's becoming soon. The other thing on the Red Wings, there's no details on it. Sorry, I have to reactivate my site to see them. The Red Wings jerseys were worn in warm-ups and the first period. That was it. These aren't full game wonders. And what bugs me is someone's already bid $3,500 on the Maurice Seider jersey. And they might not have any idea that it's a one-period wonder. Austin Matthews is next at $2,700 right now. And the good thing they've done with that is they've updated the Leafs jerseys. His was worn in the third period. Other Leafs players were worn in the second and third.
Yeah, and at least that's right in the title, so you see that even scrolling.
Yes, and they recently added that. DeBrincat, I know I'm mispronouncing his name. That's how I always say it. Is at $2,500, and I don't know if the bidder knows it's a one-period jersey. The one thing I will say, which is somewhat helpful on it in the description, bidders will have the option to honor or retract their bid without penalty. I have no idea what the details. I mean, there's a little bit more wording before that. If for any reason the player is not on the active roster and does not wear the jersey, NHL Auctions will communicate with the current bidders to ensure customer satisfaction. Period. Then a new sentence with the bidders will have the option to honor or retract their bid without penalty. I have no idea if that's an if-then or two separate statements.
That's it. That is interesting wording. And maybe it's partly because as you read some of the description, it talks about, like you said, the placeholder picture it'll be changed once the games are over. Well, it's happened some time ago. So maybe when this was originally written, they didn't know who was playing. They want to put that in because they know if people were bidding on whoever one of the star players is, and then he gets scratched, people are going to go, I'm not paying $5,000 or whatever for this. So that's why they're giving them the outs. I'm wondering if that's their cookie cutter thing. But now that it's over, they've not done anything with these.
Not if they have changed the wording on the Leafs. None of the other teams' wording has changed. The Sens and the Wild, I'm assuming they're one-period wonders too. But I haven't heard yet for certain. Now, the Maple Leafs did sell a set directly through Real Sports Auctions. And
do you know what they were labeled as?
Those were first period jerseys. So I'm assuming they were warm-ups and then first periods, at least the ones I've seen. So, and one of those did arrive here for a friend today. So I know those are being shipped.
Yeah, because like I see Bertuzzi's Maple Leafs says second and third period. So wonder why Matthews is only third.
Maybe because they can sell another one of his jerseys at $7K.
That kind of money.
Yeah.
Cut it in the card jersey stuff.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Don't say that. You're probably right.
Highly possible, sadly enough. But yeah, and it's weird that some are updated and some aren't. So I'll be curious to see because the clock's ticking. There's not a lot of time left, and if if they don't update the pictures or descriptions, you may have a lot of people scrambling after the fact going, what the hell did I actually buy?
Exactly. And well, we'll see on our next show what these go for, and
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting. That's best I can say on it. And I just wish that they would have disclosed everything before, Cider got up to 3,500. The Fleury jersey is at 2K already. There's a number above 1K, and just
So many-
surprised.
We've got the Penguins jerseys for warmth jerseys are also out on the site. They were worn just on the 16th of November. Crosby's alone is 68, 62 right now. It ends on the 1st, so Friday for that. That's the kind of run around the auction stuff that I'm.
Gray Flannel's got an auction up too.
Oh, yep. Thank you. I actually have a bid in on that one. Thanks for reminding me. I forgot all about that one.
I wonder what jersey you have a bid on.
Right. and if it goes for anything other than what I put on it, I'll be severely shocked. So, and thanks to the who tipped me off that was even there, because there's so many auction houses and different things and
Easy to miss one.
right.
If it's not one of the big 2 or 3,
Yeah, and I don't think to check them all, or I don't get all the notifications. But thanks to the person who saw that for me, so we'll keep it on it. I need to even look at the date because I don't even know when they close. They've got a mix of stuff in here on the hockey side of things. They do have a early 70s Ranger jersey, a 49
days.
Sid Abel.
Vic Hatfield. I mean, there's some nice Rangers in here.
Yeah,
they always have a lot of Ranger stuff. And I think that's because Gray Flannel for the longest time was on Long Island. And I think they have a trove of New York collectors that probably still feed them a lot of that stuff.
some good goalie masks in here. Yeah, some good Penguin stuff. You got a Yager.
Really, really cool. Yeah, that really cool Lemieux jersey with the migrate letter and everything.
The Subban in here is nice. Even the 1938 goalie pads. Yeah, there's a beautiful mix of stuff, new and old in here. Definitely check that one out as well. The 6 signed Kane and Taves jerseys. I haven't looked at them closely, but God, they're only $68. Do you pick them up cheap? You could still do great. Pair of Crosby pants. There's deals to be had, hopefully, before this all is said and done. Speaking of these wonderful things, the paying for them part. Paul, I know you shared it because when I shared the link, it only half showed up on a couple of the pages, and other people have shared it and got excited. Is the whole PayPal, Venmo, all those different IRS reporting things. Last year we heard it was happening. It was supposed to be for this year. So basically, if you make more than $600 online through Venmo, PayPal, any of the above, you get is it a 1099?
1099.
And you have to report that. And boy, when that rule was first set out, everybody was pissed as hell. I mean, I'm assuming all you guys were.
Yeah, I've been pretty worked up. I mean, obviously, we still have to pay. This is income, even if we're not getting these 1099 or these forms, right? This is still, even if we don't have to report it through these forms, we still have to account for our sales. I was worried about the lack of detail in some of the communication that I had seen from the IRS about this. The other part, and I will show and tell, is this year I started really tracking my sales, like really being like super anal retentive, and I was good through about middle of October, and it just the last 6 weeks, it's just you lose track of things, and so the lack of detail on how we're supposed to report this, the sort of ongoing effort that it takes to stay on top of it, is what has me breathing a sigh of relief. So I'm certainly, I think we should be making more out of this in the hobby, because I think this is going to impact a lot of behaviors once it does come down. I'm relieved. I mean, it's still income that you have to report, but you know, it looks like there's a little bit more wiggle room than what we were getting, and so that's huge.
So what the IRS is calling it is 2023 would be considered quote a transition year for new reporting. Once in place, it will then trigger the Form 1099-K for just $600 in payments, even if that income stemmed from a single business transaction. For 2023, the old limit of more than 200 transactions worth an aggregate above 20,000 will remain in place. The agency will then phase in a lower threshold for next year, being the 2024 tax year, of 5,000, but did not specify transaction limit. The 5,000 limit will then apply for returns filed in 2025. The $600 threshold will then go into effect also in 2025, and they can expect to receive a 1099-K at the beginning of 2026. Business payments have always been taxable, and that hasn't changed. The IRS says this is the phased approach is the right way to do it, but biggest thing is both the IRS and people on both sides of the aisle are like, this is going to confuse the hell out of taxpayers, and damn right it is, because we don't know really what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you pretty much just have to wait and see what they send you.
Yeah, and there were some estimates, and you know, I read a couple articles kind of looking at this today. Some estimates suggested there were going to be 40 million taxpayers who were going to receive this form. And you know, the thing is, you know, we got sort of so caught up in a hobby, and our wonderful hobby, and yet it's not just us that's going to be impacted by this. This is going to be, you know, a lot of different interest groups and a lot of people who sell stuff, and it's it's just, this is like a countrywide problem, not, oh my God, the world is falling in on our hockey jersey hobby. And it's, you know, it looks like the IRS is kind of pushing back on Congress, is what I read in one article. So I'm curious if this even goes. I mean, if we're talking about, like, you know, the House flipping, and you know, if we're looking at, you know, changes to potential rules in the states, like, is this even gonna happen when it's supposed to? They've already delayed once. What's gonna prevent it from another delay or another transition year 2 years from now?
And here's one of the other things that's interesting, and again, this is from an article. I don't have the true IRS ruling in front of me right now. It says the rule only applies to payments received for goods and services transactions, meaning using Venmo, PayPal, etc. To send a loved one a gift, pay your roommate rent, or reimburse a friend for dinner will be excluded. Also excluded is anyone who receives money from selling a personal item at a loss. For example, you bought a couch for $300 and sold it for $250. The amount is not taxable.
Well, that's just,
That gets into some interesting territory.
yeah, you have a loss, you don't have a gain. But I think the issue with that is, let's just talk about 2024 now. If you sell over $5,000 of stuff at a loss, it will still trigger a 1099. But you need to account for those losses.
Well, you're gonna write it off. You have to itemize and write it off.
Yeah, well, and my question is the IRS going to accept? I mean, so much of the hobby is based on personal PMs between you and collectors across the country. Like, that's the one sticking point for me, is, like, I know, like, my orange box of horrors this year, I have gotten hammered. I mean, so many of us lose, but how are we actually gonna demonstrate it? Like, you know, I DM someone, yeah, it cost me $100 and I sold it for 50. Well, you know, like, that's a $50 loss, but is that standard of proof going to be a personal message on Facebook? And that's where I'm relieved, because I have another year now to account for this and to ask questions.
The hobby will adjust. All the hobbies will adjust. Cards, whatever people collect will adjust. Enough people will be pissed off that they're reaching into something they don't need to be reaching into, frankly.
Mhm.
We're not business people. None of us are LLCs. They need to stay the hell out of our business.
Totally
Period.
agree.
So what's gonna happen is people are going to adjust, and they're going to say, hey, I'll meet you at an expo and we'll just do it in cash, or hey, send me a check in the mail. they're going to avoid it. People will adjust when it comes out and it hits the street. The minute someone gets a 1099, and now it might be a year later, someone's going to say it, and the word will spread, and eventually people are like, okay, I'll just wait to the expo. I'll wait to see you. You know, more trades maybe, because people are not going to be wanting to pay on a 1099 for a hobby that none of us are business people for.
That's a really good point, Dan. It's like, what, you know, this is a hobby, and yeah, I was expecting, I don't know, I was expecting kind of next year to be a dark year. I was expecting people to get their tax bills in the spring and the hobby not to dry up or to freeze, because Dan, you said it, like, it's, you know, people are gonna adjust, but there are a lot of people who are not going to be able to pivot and who are going to get screwed if they don't, I think, dot their I's and cross their T's. And I think
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying, I mean, as big as the hobby is, some people are going to get screwed over. They're going to, you know, I have a different view on it. The government does not need to be in our business, period. That's my view. This is not a moneymaker for most of us. This, again, that's what we call it dirty laundry. We are not in this to make money.
It's a hobby. It's not a business.
Right. So
Yeah.
get the hell out of my business.
And I will say this. I meant to say it earlier and completely forgot because I'm on a bunch of meds for a head cold and stuff. Is none of us are IRS professionals or tax people or anything. We're reading articles and giving our opinions, so none of this will stand up in a court of law or consult your own tax advisor. Don't consult any of us here on Dirty Laundry.
God, don't consult us.
Thank you, Doc. We don't have in all fairness, we don't have a clue what we're talking about legally.
Not really.
Right.
No.
that's the thing is, you look at the language of that announcement, it looks like, you kind of read in between some of those lines, it looks like the IRS knew that there was a lot of fucking confusion. Sorry to be swearing, but it's like, it looks like, you read that first paragraph of that press release, yeah, looks like there's a lot of people who are really not certain about what to do.
Given the complexity.
Yeah, the IRS manual is like 70,000 pages. Like we can't even do our normal taxes. You know, it's hard enough to do our normal taxes with people. So it's, you know, when it comes out and it hits, we'll adjust and we'll figure it out. We'll get on here, we'll talk. Somebody will say something, and unfortunately, some of us are going to get screwed over, and the word will spread. They'll say, "I don't want this to happen to my friends or my fellow collectors," and people will adjust to it.
I have the biggest change I've done this year, because I was expecting it this year, is I thought I was staying on top of, like, looking for receipts, digging through like almost decade-old emails to find receipts. When I was selling stuff, I was looking at it's just a lot of effort to cull through this. And now to me, I have more questions about, again, is the private message conversation where you say, I'll take it for 150, is that going to count in the government's eyes as proof of purchase for 150? Like, that to me is like, I still think, I wouldn't be surprised if
there's a lot of questions there, like Paul said, and there's a lot of things that could be infringed on your rights as a citizen, you know, and I guess we'll have to kind of wait and see, you know.
So, as we're not tax experts and we don't know what we're talking about, I do want to add in, I've had one of my friends gets a 1099 from eBay every year. And how he does accounting and how his tax person writes it off is he takes how much he spends on jerseys, cards, whatever else he is selling. That's his cost for the year. And then he deducts and he takes that off of what he sold. And he normally has a loss every year. It's essentially, and since he's doing it as hobby income, you can't take a loss. So it gets down to zero that way. So he reduces it to zero. And this isn't by accounting for widget A bought for 500, sold for 700. It's by doing a bulk sum of what he spends on the hobby and what he sells in the hobby. So it's worked for him for years. I'm assuming there's some legality to it since his tax person is the one who's doing it. But once again, we don't know what we're talking about. If you heard it on Dirty Laundry and you try to tell the IRS when you're getting audited, that's your legal advice. You deserve to be screwed.
Well, half of us are like hopped up on cold meds anyway, so
And Doc's going to have whiskey to go with it soon.
Actually, I'm drinking tea tonight. My voice is about shot. I'm deaf in one ear. Yeah, I'm a mess. So for once, I'm not drinking during the show. The meds are enough. But
Quitter.
yeah, it
Quitter.
is an interesting thing to see. And again, once that hit the forum pages, the Facebook pages, the conversation took off quick. There's a lot of people very excited, and of course, a lot of people have been very pissed off knowing it was coming. And I mean, it's typical government. Let's wait to the last damn minute to tell everybody we're changing it. But it's.
I wonder if our Canadian friends are laughing at us because they have been getting hosed on the
Exchange.
yeah, the exchange for so long, and I wonder if like they, like I'm half serious, half joking, like now we're in the States dealing with this colossal headache, and I wonder if they're just kind of, some of them are just chuckling because it's this is just going to impact potentially.
On top of that, they're always paying a GST when they're buying stuff, so they're getting hit with a higher local sales tax rate, and then a lot of times they're getting hit with import taxes too. So it's
Sorry, Canada.
Yeah, so they can have their laugh at us. It all evens out. I do want to
exchange
say
rate.
this.
Thank you.
Okay. I do want to say this whole thing, 20,000 was a high limit. And if you were hitting that, you probably are closer to a business than a hobby. That's not always the case. I mean, when you pick up jerseys for others, it's easy to do 20K at an equipment sale, never less just a year. But moving it to 600 is crazy.
It was so drastic. Drastic.
It was drastic. What I'm worried about is the person who's selling off their back room of books they inherited from their grandmother on eBay. They hit $600 and now they get this tax form in it and they have no idea what to do with it.
Well, and I think that's why the government did this. It was reactionary towards COVID when a lot of people were at home. Hobbies and collectibles and all that stuff increased exponentially because there was more people at home doing more online buying. And I think they saw it as a way to capitalize on people doing exactly what you said. And that was sitting at home, less income. A lot of people were out of work and they were grabbing stuff off their bookshelf and saying, hey, I saw this on eBay and this thing's worth $35. I'm going to sell it. And I think that's where it's kind of shame on the government, and I think that's where they started to step on some toes. Hopefully they get it resolved because, I've gotten 1099 for a number of years from eBay from what I do. And the first year I got it, I was like,
I was pissed.
I
was fucking pissed.
And I took it to my tax person and, it was another thing that got added and stuff, another form that got added, which cost me more money in my taxes. I mean, it just becomes an entirely additional headache, is the best way to put it. I mean, I think it's the best word for it. So, for all of our sake and for hobbyists in all hobbies, I hope they either stay away or figure out a way to make it make sense.
And again, with all the potential for change and, with Congress, next year's an election year. Like, are we going to get to this? And, if the House flips or whatever, whatever changes, however you want it, like, are we going to be having the same conversation again next year?
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, government changes stuff every 5 minutes. We just don't really know at this point. So at least it's good news for now. I would still keep track of stuff for Justin, like you were doing. And it's helpful with Wade and I buying stuff from the Blues, either through their auctions or online to their store. You get electronic receipts of all that stuff and what the tax values and all those different things are. So it's easy to file that stuff away or make a spreadsheet when you're buying and selling stuff, kind of track all that out, positives, negatives, and see where you sit.
That was actually
just nice to know.
That was actually a question that came up from a collector on our Blues page. He had asked, he said, well, does the stuff from the Blues that you buy from Ringside Reserve, is that tax creditable? And I said, no, absolutely not, because that's a purchase. It's totally different than when you buy something in a GiveSmart auction. So, that got clarified the other day in our thing. And what I do every year at the end of the year for me is I keep track of different organizations that I have purchased on their giving sites, and then I usually get a total for that, and I turn it in because it actually helps, offset some other taxes I have, and those donations, the donations do help balance out my taxes, so it's an important thing for me.
Well, here's what I wonder. Like, so earlier summer, I mean, we do it all the time. Like, you're talking to a collector. Like, let's say you do a trade in partial cash for a nicer jersey. Like, how in God's green earth do you somehow like calculate? The jersey was 150 bucks. He gave me 200 bucks. Do I now have to report $350 as
No,
like?
so from what I can read and from what I've seen on this, I think and I hate, like, God, I hope nobody's listening. I think the way to get around it is the friends and family thing. At the end of the day, it says that's not trackable. So unless you're actually paying and using goods and services, and really the only way you get caught having to do that all the time is if you are a business, they actually take away the friends and family aspect of it. So I think that, that's kind of the
My grade doesn't
dirty,
have that.
yeah, that's the dirty secret is, hey, friends and family when you're working with somebody you trust, and that's going to avoid the addition to your number.
Yeah, I think a legitimate business, there is no friends and
They
family.
can't do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have a business, you can't have friends and family on there.
Well, this
So.
this means that you're going to have, and you have seen it this year before the shift. It feels like this year was more focused on pay by. Well, I'm only taking friends and family, and if you don't like move on,
Well,
maybe we're going to go more to that in the next year.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think we will too. But I
Yeah.
do think the 5,000 number they're coming up with, I think it's more of just like a test. The IRS is going to see, what does it do? Are they really generating more income from sending out these 1099s?
Yeah.
Or is it, everything getting written off? Is it confusing everyone? Is it just only people making money on it, or the tax preparers? Well,
It's like the post office. They're the biggest beneficiaries of the hobby.
very, very true.
So we covered that well, and it'll be a good topic to Paul, like you said, down the road, and Justin, same thing. Down the road, we'll see what the government does. It may come up again. Moving on from there, Instagram. Paul, you sent this to me the other day. I'd seen it quick and kind of missed it, but why don't you talk about what happened with some accounts?
Yeah, it's shown up in the main Facebook group. Someone had their Instagram account permanently deleted after it was first suspended, and then for review. Well, disabled. I'm sorry, that's the right word. And then permanently deleted. The name of the account was NHL something, like NHL game worn jerseys, or I'm drawing a blank on it. It should be in front of me. Yeah, you no longer have access to NHL game used, is what his account was. And
this is Brian Waltman who posted this, by the way.
Yes, thank you. Why this happened? We reviewed your account and found that it still doesn't follow our community guidelines on account integrity and authentic identity. So I actually went through the Instagram terms of service. I couldn't find the word account integrity in there while trying to grep for integrity. So it's really that, and then he has a thing on there. Read more about this rule. So maybe there's some clarifications there for him. People are speculating, and that's all it is, on why it was deleted. He used the NHL logo as his avatar or whatever it is on Instagram. He also used Getty images within his jerseys, but I believe these were the ones like when you can get a sample of a photo, and it has the Getty images and the numbers on it, so it still has that. Getty doesn't like us putting those on websites and stuff without paying the rights, so we don't know why this was deleted. We know a lot of people use Instagram for their collections. There's a few other people who have recently lost their accounts there. just like with taxes, we're kind of clueless on what happened. So
Yeah, until he comes out and says something.
yeah, and he, he's trying to work with them, but you know how Meta, well, on Facebook is. It's impossible to get a person to talk to.
Yeah.
Um, it looks like everything's automated. So to me, it's a little bit of a warning on how we display and share our collections, especially when you're on a site you don't own. I mean, Instagram, Facebook. I'm just waiting for the day when Facebook gets rid of the bad traders group because we insulted someone and it goes against their terms of service. I mean, I hope it never happens, but it wouldn't surprise me if that we get rid of that someday. So
Someone complains about it. You never know.
yeah,
and the fact that it's not easily given to go dispute it. Another commenter in here had a Ryan Jonick said he had a fan account for live recording archive of Nine Inch Nails, and he would put ticket stubs, all that kind of stuff, and they yanked all his stuff as well.
and he was saying that Trent Reznor was actually following his account.
But hopefully he reaches back out to him, and Reznor may have a way to get that fixed. But
the academic in me just kind of chuckles because if this is the case of the NHL trying to control something, then it just shows you how hard they are trying to rein things in. If it's other reasons, then that's a story for another day. But this also suggests we are all on Facebook. A lot of us are on Instagram. There are countless examples of how these platforms are not really good platforms to use in terms of user protection, in terms of, it's the wild west in certain elements. And, there are a lot of people who don't trust those two platforms for good reason. So maybe we're all going to go back to private, forums with fake names or handles. Maybe that's what this is all telling us to do.
Yeah, I mean, we've been over the history. Over 10 years ago, GameWarn.net, the forums, made that terrible decision of charging $250 a quarter if you want to be able to buy or sell jerseys on it. And a lot of people just got rid of their .net accounts. That's when GameWarn.us was gaining a lot of popularity. I love your shirt, Dan. Good choice. And I mean, all the Facebook groups really started taking off then. And I just don't see us going back to forums, but Facebook's so damn easy to use. And the search feature, when it works, is pretty good.
Right.
Yeah.
The instant messaging and the instant commenting and all that things. And I mean, the forums, when we were in them, were great. Yeah, you'd get an email saying, hey, somebody commented on this post, but it was the response time from, call it, post to deal making or whatever you want to call it, took a long time. Now
it's antiquated from what we expect now. That's the problem. Going back to that is so backwards as far as the speed of service.
I actually see a thread to the tax thing. If one of the things Dan was so passionate about is we're gonna these are private transactions, right, occurring in very public spaces, in Instagram and Facebook, right? And if we're gonna be insisting on friends and family, maybe it's time we migrate a little bit off of Facebook for all its help, right? It is helpful when you can find something online real quick, but I don't know, maybe the hobby's, dare I say, too big.
Ooh. I think like I said, I just think things adjust. And I think with social media, with cell phone numbers, that we all have cell phones and now we call all over the country. I think you'll just see a shift. If they start invading more, if it starts happening, you'll see a shift in maybe more expos, maybe more text messages, hey, I got an expo coming, everybody make plans. And then The Expos will just become some maybe gigantic 2-day event. We'll adjust if they want to invade in our privacy. If they want to
Or-
invade in it,
I mean, from the tech side, you have another platform of some kind that opens up that
Yeah.
gives easy use to do all these things. I mean, you
somebody
have-
that's tech savvy can open up another platform and get on there. There are other platforms, just right now so many people are on Facebook. We stay there right now.
Right, and it does obviously it helps with the sales. I was just openly wondering if
I'm gonna go back to my MySpace. If you guys want to find me, I'll be on MySpace.
Are they even still around?
it is, but to what level of usage, I'm not unsure.
I think I saw my Friendster account. So
Is Twitter still a thing? I hate to sound like the coolest professor, but is Twitter still a thing? Is X still a thing?
It's there.
Depends on the day.
so
So again, that's watch your stuff. What it's and you see stuff get flagged all the time temporarily for copyright, other copyright stuff, and I've seen several people file the thing to say, hey, look at this again, and then they get it back saying, oh, yep, we made a mistake. But sometimes you got to hammer on it, but you've also got to give the ability to talk to somebody, because if it's all automated, you're never going to get it solved. You've got to, and
No.
by the way, I know all of us collectors are smart, both here and anybody else listening to this, because you're smart if you're listening anyway. Facebook does not have a phone number. If you Google it and find one, do not call it. For somebody that's in IT security, there is no Facebook phone number or Google phone number to call and support. It is a scam. And I've had people actually reach out to me going, yeah, I just talked to Facebook on the phone and gave my account stuff. Well, guess the next statements thereafter. So not that I think anybody would fall for that listening, but I always like to throw that
good
out.
info, man. Wealth of knowledge, Doc. Wealth of knowledge.
So closing out on that stuff, but yeah, keep an eye on your stuff, and hopefully he can somehow get it back, or Instagram will reach out eventually, but just hammer the shit out of him over it.
The thing I just want to close on that is what really worries me is our platforms are not under our control.
Nope.
And it can be yanked at any time. And I don't know where we should be going from here, but I mean, I know this is a wake-up call for Brian and any of us looking at it. And
well, you just can't use, because you got to figure people from the NHL are watching the internet, and if you're using their symbols or their logos, maybe that's what. I'm not saying that's what he did. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there are people out there. I know this. People out there watching stuff, because I got caught. I didn't try to do it on purpose, but I put a Cal Ripken baseball on eBay years ago, and I got flagged for it. And come on, find out it was fake. Didn't know it was fake. The person I bought it from didn't tell me it was fake. It was many years ago, and so people are out there watching stuff. You got to think, as big as the NHL is and how much money they generate, they're out there watching their stuff on social media. But so if you're using something from NHL or whatever hobby you're in, people are watching you if you're using their image or logos.
But a better solution from the NHL side would have been to notify him and have him take that whatever was offensive.
Oh yeah, courtesy. Say, hey, look, man, do not use our stuff. Take it down. You got 24 hours, and give him a chance to correct it.
I think we can all agree that the NHL has not necessarily been the most fan-centered in the last, I don't know, 18 months.
Well,
I mean, it's just
none of them are.
add another.
None of those pro leagues are fan-centered.
Their PR and marketing has a lot to be desired on both sides. And Dan, like you said, it is. I deal with it on the college side, and Justin, you'll understand this well too. Is digital rights for everything is on him and I work for the university. We don't track any internet usage, things like that, but our students get the downloaders to download or illegally stream movies. We don't do anything with that, nor do we monitor it, catch it, whatever. But I get emails from Warner Brothers and different places like that going, hey, we caught this IP address downloading this movie. You need to handle it. And it works similar to like, Paul, what you said is if the NHL would reach out and say, hey, this goes against, you're using our image without permission, please remove it. okay. And in the case of what we do with students, if they get caught, they get notified, they meet with the dean and sign a paperwork. If they do it multiple times, they get in deeper trouble. But that's all it is. It's an initial just knock this off, and that's what it should be. But there have been other like the 9 Inch Nails one. Trent Reznor following it, that tells me he's approving that, and or at least has no issue with it and is letting it go, because I'm assuming there's no money being made in any of these cases, really, but it's either AI doing the analytics on it and flagging it, or the tools that Instagram and Facebook that has no human interaction, and they just ignore it when people to try to sort it out. And again, we don't have the back end access to know that, but it doesn't take a lot to figure it out.
Well, I mean, how many of us have had a Facebook a sales post kicked back, or it's been in review? Like the strangest things get held up in review. You're like, I'm trying to sell a Jets jersey. Like, what? Why is this being
Who's the
reviewed?
fuck about them? Who the fuck's about that?
Right. It's
It's just some of it is, I don't know what happened with this particular case, but it's
no, you're right. eBay does the same thing occasionally. If it'll flag jerseys for weird reasons, or but so much of it is done through automated processes that are too stupid to take an extra second look and go, oh, yep, it's fine, and move on. Then it's all the hoops we as collectors have to jump through.
Yeah.
The other piece before we a couple things before we wrap up, Winter Classic jerseys, they were quote unquote leaked.
Ugly.
Well, honestly, I don't think they're that bad, but the Uniwatch put some of the links out to this, uni-watch.com if you don't know that site. The Utah Jazz put the Seattle ones. They had their players wearing it. Let me pull up, speaking of Twitter /X here. Let me see if I can do a screen share of that. Their players were walking in wearing them, which I thought was kind of interesting.
I sure hope there was if there was a marketing person behind that, they deserve a raise. Genius, love it. I mean, this looks calculated, right? This has to be.
See, when you're providing it to the whole team,
right? And I mean, like I said, I saw a video with Marshawn Lynch, doing it. He's a popular player up in Seattle, popular up there. So the marketing standpoint of the release or the leak, it could be a genius, I was more of saying, again, personal taste. Everybody has a personal taste. Everybody knows there's a lot more people out there that have more of a knowledge of the team's history. I just saw it and said, that's ugly.
Yeah. Well, the Kraken one is based off the old Seattle team. The Vegas one is,
and again, there are people that know the history of teams, and where these Stadium Series jerseys come from. So I spent the last couple of days clipping and pasting all the pictures from and to compare, to actually look at them and saying, okay, what did I like about this or that one? And through the years, there's been some that I think are very good, some that are very cool, and some I'm thinking, what good God, what were they thinking? But there could be a historical standpoint to it that I'm unaware of. Again, Seattle, this Kraken team and this Knights team doesn't have a huge history.
Seattle does more than Vegas. And what do you guys think of the Vegas ones? I'm not a big fan of that. Maybe it'll look better in person, but I don't know.
When I went through the list and just started looking down and taking notes, what I noticed for me, my personal opinion, is I like the ones when they got rid of the white. And if you look at the history of the ones that have no white in them, so the Canes, the Penguins, the Flyers, the Ducks had like one stripe on it, and they were just the dark colors, and then the other team wore a contrasting color. I like those ones in particular. And then there's some I just was like, I'm glad I didn't go to that game to buy it. I just would have not wanted to buy that jersey.
Because part of it with Seattle's history, they went way back to the
Metropolitans.
Say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean-
And that's the thing I like about it is it's a good tie-in to the Metropolitans. Now their colors were green, red, and the cream. So they went with the cracking colors and they changed. So the original Metro jerseys had an S on the front that said Seattle. It was in a different shape. So obviously the Seattle ones now have the Kraken shaped S. I think that's cool. The Vegas one I just don't get. It's such a big departure from everything else they've done.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
that,
I
that
mean-
one it's just a V. I mean, like there's no. I don't think there's any shoulder badges.
I think it's the stripes that on the crack one that I don't like. It's the
yeah. No,
stripes.
that's what those jerseys looked like back then. So
I know, and again, there could be a historical standpoint. Somebody says, "Look, we back in historical. We did this, that, that," And I'm happy that Vegas and Seattle has the Winter Classic. I'm excited to watch it. But again, I clipped and saved all these, and just looked at them all to kind of see the history of all these outdoor games, including the Heritage Classic. I wasn't thrilled with the recent Heritage one with Calgary and Edmonton. I was like, Edmonton wearing brown pants. I'm like,
yeah.
is there a historical standpoint to it? So I know there's a lot of appeal in people's eyes and what people like. There could be some historical things to it. I just looked at it from a standpoint of, from my eyeballs, not as historical. Just, is it pleasing to what I want to own that jersey? Do I like the design of that jersey? Some of the teams I thought that were over the years were solid. The Sabres, Hawks, and Blues. If you look at all theirs, they're pretty good all the years. The Hawks are pretty relevantly the same all the years. A couple tweaks here and there, and the Blues have pretty much stayed with theirs. Some of the uglier ones. What I have is that one of my ugly ones.
Don't say Winnipeg. Don't say Winnipeg.
What? I didn't negative Winnipeg. I particularly didn't like last year's Winter Classic. The Penguins and the Bruins. I didn't really particularly liked it. The Penguins one looked more baseball, and the Bruins, I'm like, is that an old historical logo? But again, I wasn't purchasing them, so I didn't go to the game. So I just look at it like that. When I sent Doc the message, I'm just like, it something's not grabbed me about it, and I haven't seen anything yet. I did see one picture. I think it was just somebody's concept. I don't think it was anything real, that the Devils were going to do something like the Canes had, like they were going to be all black and red, but nothing's come out about those teams yet. So we'll see what the Rangers and the Flyers. Who is it? Rangers, Flyers, and Devils are coming out with theirs. Who are they? The next ones? Yeah, Rangers, Islanders, Flyers, and Devils for the Stadium Series. So we shall see,
Yeah.
and they'll get sold. People will buy them. People will go to the games and they'll buy them. Some people might like them. It's just interesting when you look at all the different versions that they've come up with.
But don't, and going back to the PR side of this too for a minute, don't tell me that these are leaks when they're done by the NHL or by the teams, because then you guys just, the NHL looks like a bunch of, their marketing and PR looks like a bunch of idiots.
Right.
You hype the hell out of this. It's awesome. They teamed up with the Jazz. They teamed up with wrestling and all. Great. You want to make those connections in other things. That's phenomenal. Right. But don't, this shouldn't have been bull.
I think we love it that the game is on January 1st. Yep. I think we love it, the outdoor game. We love that that they come up with a different jersey design. There's a lot of positive there. So just
tell us.
Yeah, don't play us stupid. Oh, we leaked it. Fucking shut up, man. You didn't leak this.
Right.
This was done purposely.
I think Dan and I need to take over the NHL marketing department, and I think instantly, we've corrected the entire game. I think it needs to happen.
I like how I agree with Doc. I like how you get the basketball team involved. I enjoyed the video of Marshawn Lynch. He was hilarious. He's like, I'm keeping this jersey. Like I said, I was looking at the standpoint of the design of it, and what some of these teams were thinking. But that could be a personal preference to a lot of different people, So yeah. I'm not thrilled with the design of this year's Winter Classic, but I'll watch it. I want to see it.
It's a fun game to watch.
I'm excited they picked those two teams. I'm excited they did them.
Yeah, new fresh blood. I think that's one of the things I think for obviously the Blues now have had, 2 winter classics, no stadium series. Some of the teams just seem like they were, for a while it seemed like the same teams were just in them over and over again, Pittsburgh and Boston and for a while I like seeing them spread it out to some of these other franchises and letting those teams have the
Well,
excitement.
did the NHL pick teams that were going to sell the tickets for the
Yeah,
stadiums?
I think I think they pick it by markets. I mean, obviously, who are you
I mean,
gonna?
I
Can
mean,
you guys hear my dog?
yeah,
Bad-
most of them,
bad dog
most
dream.
of them probably when they were getting going, they probably picked teams that were going to be. They tried some. I mean, I don't know the records. Paul probably knows better. How did the West Coast teams draw? Did they draw out there well? They proved they could do it in warm weather. Did they have big crowds there at Dodger Stadium, right, for the Ducks and the Kings?
Yeah, I mean, the only one I went to hear was the Sharks Kings at Levi Stadium here in Santa
Right.
Clara. And that was a good crowd.
Right. And I was fortunate enough to go to last year's stadium game with the Canes and Capitals. I think it was like 56,000 people in Wolfpack Stadium. And they made it really, they had the cheerleader, they made a college atmosphere. They really brought the college experience into it. So I hope people can get to these games because they're an experience to go outdoor and to watch it in the big stadium. Thrilled to death to be able to go to it and get a jersey from the game.
It's fantastic.
I'm just glad I'm not going to this year's Winter Classic. I'd hate to spend the money on those 2 jerseys. That's my opinion. That's just I think it's the lines on the Seattle one. I'm like, God, that's too much, just too busy.
I'm actually going to reserve judgment until I see the whole setup.
Yeah, that's a fair statement. That's a fair statement.
I've seen other ones where I was like, the jersey didn't do anything, and then they put the whole thing together. It looks much better.
Like Edmonton.
I still
the Edmonton thing this year sticks out. I mean, I think I loved that jersey. When I saw it with the pants and the gloves, I was like, "Oh, what are you guys doing?"
Yeah, with the brown pants. What do you look? What they crack their drawers, man? Ugly.
But I don't have faith that the Vegas ones are going to end up looking good, and I hope they prove me wrong. I kind of like the Seattle ones, but like I said, I want to see the whole thing put together.
I just
the pants and the gloves matter.
Yes.
Yeah, the helmet. I mean, everything's got to go.
Yeah.
And then I think the other thing though too is how do they look together on the ice?
Yeah.
Do they match well on the ice? And if they match well on the ice, you might be able to they're contrasting jerseys. They mesh well on the ice with the whole top to bottom. But if they don't, if there's any clashing, if there's any they don't fit well top to bottom, something's not right. The gloves, you could lose it on gloves.
I agree.
I'm with you 100%. And for when you're talking about opposing teams, one of the best looking hockey games I've ever seen was the Winter Classic at Michigan Stadium, where you had the Red Wings wearing all red, the Maple Leafs wearing all blue, and it just looked great. And you could easily tell the teams apart.
Well, because it was snowing too.
And yeah, snow flurries too, which added to it. But I would love to see more teams like both wear dark, jerseys. I don't know why the NHL is set on, the visiting team, or if it's a reverse, they have to wear white. There's certain if there's a nice contrast, do it. But that game looked great, and I'm hoping it works this January 1st.
One other change before we get to some Expo updates. I don't know if you guys saw this one. This will also mean some stuff for jerseys. All-Star Weekend is getting revamped. Now, it's going to be a 3-day event starting on Thursday. They'll do Friday's going to be still skills competition as usual. Saturday, All-Star game. Thursday will be the first All-Star player draft in 10 years. There'll be 4 All-Star captains and then celebrity captain partners drafting teams for the Saturday game. After the draft, there'll be a ceremony this coming year anyway for the 67 Maple Leafs, and then the 3-on-3, which I really like, this 3-on-3 event with the Professional Women's Hockey League. So I think you'll see a lot more jerseys out of that, because one of the things that we saw in years past of those jersey drafts, you'd have jerseys made of each color, and then the other, whatever they weren't drafted in, you'd see them show up as an issued. So
Hey, I got one other thing I wanted to throw out there: the helmet situation, where they announced that that they can wear different color helmets with different jerseys now. Did you guys see that?
No, was this a flurry thing?
No, no, no. It was
Regular player helmets.
player helmets. Yeah, players they can switch up the helmet with the jerseys now, as long as it's not the same color as the opposing teams. So, like like if the Blues typically wear at home would wear a blue helmet, they could actually wear a white helmet with their blue jersey
Hmm.
now. The NHL has changed the rules on that, so I
Oh,
think
the
that's going to be
team,
interesting. The team,
that
the
and
play,
the team has to wear all the same color though.
correct, but they like each team had a home helmet color. They could actually
Yeah.
wear their road color helmet with their home jersey
All right.
if
Little
they
Oregon.
switch it up with the other team. Did you guys?
Well,
Everybody else saw that, right? I'm not crazy.
No,
I
you're not.
I didn't see it, but little Oregon
And
Duck
that's
style there.
Yeah, I
Little
think that's
Oregon
gonna be
Duck.
cool. I think it'd be neat to see the mix up of that. I think it'll be cool to see. I think it adds another layer to the uniform spectrum. You keep seeing football teams. A lot of these college teams have 4 helmets now, and I think it'll be neat to see. That team the time you see your Blues come, your team come out in their road helmet with their home jersey. I think that's neat. I think that'll be fun. I'm actually excited about that.
I think Oregon has a new helmet design every game.
Yeah,
They
Oregon
do.
does. Oregon does. If they have 12 games, they have 12 different uniforms. Every week they have a new combination.
So I'm going to be
That-
set for the classic.
Yeah, they do a
Classic.
whether the whole thing, the pants, the helmet, they do a new combination. Sometimes whole thing. Yeah,
Oregon hasn't worn the same uniform in like 15 years, I think, is what it ends
Yeah.
up being now. They've
They
never worn
changed
the
something.
same. Yeah, it's never been the same combination twice in 15 years.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Wow.
they change. Yeah, they change. It's just that popular, and you're like, why? And now other teams are starting to do that too. They come out with different uniforms for different games.
Where
Yeah.
I went to college and played, I think they have 3 helmets now, 3 or 4. And talking to it's wild. And I was talking to our head coach, and the way the uniforms are set up with the helmets and uniforms, I think they have like something like 200 and something different combinations that they could wear between the pants, the jerseys, the helmets, and the socks, which is like
It's like
which
throw
is
darts and pick which one of
yeah,
each
like
piece you're
and that's what they
wearing.
do. I think they let the players figure it out, but it's wild though that they can combine them that many different ways is what they've
Yeah.
figured out.
One last thing on helmets overall before we get Paul's updates on upcoming dates for expos. Toronto Maple Leafs did change their sponsor for their home helmets. It's going from TikTok to Pizza. So now if you get a helmet coming here soon from the Maple Leafs, it will say Pizza on the side of it.
Guaranteed to be one of the conference finals this year.
Yeah, what are you drinking over there?
Thank God this is being recorded. We'll play that part back later.
Yeah,
So I just thought that was a funny, and again, they're making money off sponsorship. I get it, but it's
Pizza.
it's now, and initially I thought it was like, wait a minute, is that Little Caesars? No, in Canada it's actually a chain called Pizza. So
And they have milk, so they've got milk and pizza. Milk on the jerseys and pizza on the helmet.
Nice. You're half healthy there. All right, Paul, what you got for us on upcoming expos?
I only have a couple on our list right now, and the next one's not till February, which is kind of shocking. We have a little bit over a 2-month break. So February 3rd, we're hosting our show in San Jose. We're back at the Poorhouse Bistro studio. We've done shows. Our last 2 shows were there. It will be February 3rd. If you need a table or you want to come on out, shoot myself or Mitch an email. We're going to start advertising it very, very soon. The thing that goes along with that one, it's the AHL All-Star Weekend. So the games for that are Sunday, Monday. The skills competition Sunday, game on Monday. It's a little bit strange because the Barracuda have an away game that Saturday of All-Star Weekend, the day we're doing the expo. So we'll get more info out on that. The next one we have on the list is March 9th up in Winnipeg. And Justin, do you want to say anything on that?
No, Pete has done a great job of growing it. He had one, I think, right before the pandemic that fall. And then last year was a much broader. It wasn't just hockey jerseys. There was, he had a lot of, it was just more, it was about other sports. And I think cards may have been there, but Pete does a really good job, and I didn't get up to it last year. I'm on the fence about going this year, but it's a really, really good experience. Winnipeg has two of them. That's the big one, and then there's a smaller gathering, usually that Pat organizes in August. I'm actually thinking about going up just to attend and not to show, because it has grown in such a cool way. He gets a lot of good people going there, so he deserves a lot of credit for sort of turning it into a kind of a marquee event, not just within hockey jerseys.
Very, very cool. But who knows? I want to make that trip one of these years. Keep trying.
Please. And bring that
We'll get you to
Strauss-Man
St.
jersey with
Louis
you.
this year.
Yes. Well, St. Louis, I actually want to do in 2025.
Oh, that's
For the
right,
fir-
because the NCAA.
Yes, we're jumping ahead. We want to host a show in St. Louis for the Frozen Four in 2025, in Vegas in 2026. If anyone's still listening, well, what's wrong with you? But that we'll get that put out eventually, and we're working on details. Other show I have on my list is Francis's show, the Nova One Northern Virginia Expo, March 16th, and that's just an incredible. He does a great job.
It's up to 65 tables now.
Whoa.
Wow.
They moved
I
it.
should be at that one this year.
They moved it. He had to get a new hotel, a different place after 17 years at the Holiday Inn. I guess it just become they didn't want to work with him anymore. So
Wow.
Francis has more information on that. I got a little bit of it in South Jersey, but I think he said he's got room for 65 tables now. So he actually had a waiting list. People were waiting for tables. They couldn't get one because the people that kept going every year, kept taking their tables. Of course, that pretty much how everybody does it. You come every year, you get your table.
Yeah.
So
I
65
should be in
tables.
attendance for that this year. Trying to bring Doc.
See what we can work out. But again, start planning for the expos as you see dates come out for other ones. Paul, keep his page up with the list, and we'll keep hammering them out here. I know people are putting jerseys on their Christmas list. Check out different teams. Like I said, we've covered a lot of ground this evening. If you want stuff with the Wild, reach out to them. But and I'm going to say this for any team that's doing stuff like that, where they do in stores and phone calls. Be nice. I mean, don't hammer them with, hey, I'm looking for these 12 guys, and can you tell me what kind of wear and all this kind of stuff? Just don't hammer them and be nice about it, because they understand what people need and what they want. But just be nice about it. I know too many people can get nasty on the phone with, well, can you tell me this sleeve and that sleeve and this and that? Just treat these employees good, especially now, because everybody's super busy with the holidays. We'll have another show in one or two. Actually, let me look at the calendar here, because we're almost to December. We'll have one show before Christmas, as long as the dates, and one right after the first of the year if things line up. We might have some other ones in there. I need to follow up with Boston, get them scheduled on now that they're rolling into things. People I know have been posted about buying stuff from them. So still working on some other teams. Halak's done in Carolina, so maybe I can get him on the show now, talk about his collecting. So we'll see. Anything else you guys want to talk about or touch on before we get out of here?
I think we covered everything.
I
We
think
covered
we
a lot of
covered quite a
ground.
bit. All right, gentlemen. Till next time, have a good one. It's Dirty Laundry Game Worn Hockey Podcast. You guys enjoy, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. We're hitting great numbers just because I love to see that. So thank you so much for all the support. We'll see you back on the next one.